And I can't hold it much longer. Gotta let go so I can be free.
What's up, FT fam? Happy Monday. We got Pierzynski and Cam Maybin in the house today. What's going on, guys?
Not too much, baby. We woke up. It's a good day.
Yeah, and it's a better day, I would say, maybe for Cam and his former teams, since you didn't play for the White Sox, right?
Nope.
Confirmed? Okay. We're not going to talk about it during the show. But before we get into our first segment, I was going to give AJ the opportunity to just take a deep breath and, maybe.
Why would we not talk about it? It's 20 games in a row. It hasn't happened in forever. So why would we not talk about it?
Okay, well then let's talk about it right at the jump before we charge the mound. What are your feelings?
I mean, let's go. Let's go for 25, baby. When I do the game, let's go. Let's set the all-time record. If you're at that point, you might as well just go for the gold at that point. I mean, why
you're there Saturday?
I want to ask this, AJ, and I know we've been talking about managerial decisions and I mean, but is there a person, not even you, and I believe in you. Listen, I've been on X and I've been advocating AJ Pierzynski needs to be in somebody's front office. He needs to manage somebody. It just certain people got that old school mentality, that Jim Leland feel. I played for guys like AJ who some people, especially this day and age, needs guys to keep them accountable, right? They need to actually hear how it is, hear what's going on. And we don't have that anymore. It's a lot of pacifying things that shouldn't be pacified going on and making excuses. Well, listen, at what point could anybody do anything with this roster, AJ?
Nobody can. Listen, it ain't
but it's who? I don't think you could name anybody who could come in and fix what's going on right now. This is deeper than just the manager and what's going on.
You're right. It's not just the manager. Everyone's like, oh, Pedro Grifol. I mean,
yeah.
Sure. I mean, he's not doing, listen, he's doing the best job I guess he can. But if you have the players you have, and then you trade away your 5 best players that you still think are on the roster, and you don't really get any big league help back. I guess Miguel Vargas was your one guy you got back to help. Man, let me tell you, it's going to be a long road back unless they spend money, which they're not going to do. So who wants that job? I mean, I've heard Tito Francona. Listen, Tito Francona ain't taking that job unless you guarantee him you're going to spend a lot of money, and the White Sox aren't going to spend a lot of money. I mean, Ozzie says, I don't want the job. Bull bleep. He wants that job. He's wanted that job since the day he went to Miami, and he knows he made a mistake when he went to Miami.
So is that the answer?
No.
If you want to bring in a veteran type, no.
I mean, you can bring in a veteran type.
It's a part of the answer, like AJ said, but it's so much more. A part of the answer is bringing somebody in who's going to keep these guys accountable. Then, like AJ said, you got to go put a competitive roster together. I mean, at the end of the day, you can't compete with what you have on paper right now. So it's so many issues that the White Sox have right now.
I'm sorry. Why? You think Terry Francona, who came from Cleveland, where they don't spend money, is going to want to go to a team that's going to lose? I mean, they could set the all-time record. I don't know if they will, but they're going to set the all-time record. You think Terry Francona is going to get that phone call and say, man, that's the job I set out a year for, was to go get the White Sox job where I can do a rebuild? Come on, no. But they need somebody. But I'll tell you what, I had this conversation. I was talking with, you remember Alan Butts, right, Cam? Our old bullpen catcher. He's a scout now for the Braves, and I'm at this East Coast Pro thing in Alabama. And there's all the scouts here, and I've had long talks with a bunch of them. And the thing that everybody says, there's no veteran presence in a lot of locker rooms. There's no guys, player-wise, that will sit guys down and say, listen, that ain't how we do it here. And that's the problem. Look at the White Sox roster right now.
100%.
Who's going to grab an Andrew Vaughn if he does something and say, listen, Andrew, man, you're the veteran now. You got, 4+ years in? Andrew Vaughn's a veteran. Andrew Benintendi isn't that type. No offense, he's a good guy, but he ain't the type.
But he's not. It's not in his DNA. You're right. And Tommy Pham, I think, was that guy, but he even looked drained from it.
Yeah, but Tommy's not a vocal guy that's going to get in your face, right? Tommy's not that guy. He's not hey, dude, we're not doing this right. So I don't know what the answer is. The answer is spend money, which they're not going to do, and develop better players, which they haven't done for years. So I don't know what the answer is.
The answer is close your eyes and then open them up again in 5 years. and hopefully it'll be better.
And pray.
Think about
you'll just be stacking up players because this was supposed to be a short rebuild. So I guess that's 5 years. I mean, they're not
think
going to
about
be
their
good for a
rebuild.
while.
Think about the last rebuild, though. I know we talk about this all the time, and it drives me crazy. Their last rebuild they did, right? Their 4 best players that were on those teams. And I keep saying this: Abreu, gone, out of baseball. Tim Anderson, boom, out of baseball. Moncada, I mean, he ain't going to be with the White Sox next year. And Eloy Jimenez is now in Baltimore Oriole, going to probably go to camp on a minor league job next year, unless he goes in Baltimore and just goes off. Okay? That's 3 years ago. 2021, they were in the postseason. They lost to the Astros. That's your 4 best players. 2 of them are out of baseball, and 2 are on their way to being out of baseball or on minor league deals. That's not good. You look at the starting lineup from the 2021 White Sox that played the Astros, retired, all out of baseball, minor leagues. It's unbelievable how fast this roster got turned over from what was supposed to be the rebuild.
A 92. I was thinking that was a 92 team, a 92 win season, I think, too. So, like you said, even that staff, AJ, has been depleted. You talked about just the top guys, but they had a pretty good staff 3 years ago as well. It hasn't come close to being the same.
Well, we'll see if they can carry this to Saturday when Pierzynski will be there for the game on Fox. Let's charge the damn mound.
Charging the mound.
On a lighter note, Jack Flaherty made his debut for the Dodgers, and you can say it's the A's, but the A's are playing good ball lately since the beginning of July. Their offense has turned it up, and Jack goes 6 shutout innings. He fans 7. Marks just the second quality start the Dodgers have gotten from their rotation in a 38-day span when he pulled that off. That was an article that Fabian Ardaya for The Athletic put together. So huge pickup for start number 1 for LA, among a few others. But Cam, you spoke a little bit about the deadline last week when you joined us. I think the extra motivator here is not only that Flaherty gets to go home, not only that he is pitching for a contract, but now you have one of the biggest teams in baseball telling you can't pitch well the next couple months, right? You have a back issue and we don't believe in you. And we had the best offer and deal for you, and it was basically done. And the Yankees reviewed your medicals and said, nah, we don't think that you have what it takes to get us to a World Series title. Think he's a little motivated?
100%. And again, a lot of players will tell you that doesn't bother them. But the way Jack Flaherty has looked this season, for me, I think there's a few things I like to look at. One, you look at what Chris Fetter has been able to do with some veteran guys who've kind of been on the cusp of what are they now. Look at Michael Lorenzen just a year ago. He raves about what Chris Fetter was able to do. What Jack Flaherty was able to do this year. Rodriguez, these are some guys, some veteran guys who we didn't know what they still had. So I think Chris Fetter is doing a great job over in Detroit, setting a foundation, getting guys to understand what they do extremely well. Then going back to Jack Flaherty, the stuff looks as healthy as it's looked, in years. He's going back to having that wipeout slider, the swing and miss stuff. He's attacking the zone. He's got that extra life on that fastball up in the zone. And now he's went to a place like the LA Dodgers that does a great job when you talk about giving guys the right information. So this is a much needed pickup. So I think the motivation also goes along with how depleted the Dodgers staff has been this year. They actually need Jack Flaherty to continue to be the guy that he's been this season. So I think it's wonderful to see. I'm glad to see him healthy. I think on the other end, I don't think we live in a world of regret when you talk about baseball front offices, but there has to be a little bit of scratching your head and shaking your head if you are the Yankees front office going, man, could we have gave up something to take a chance on what Jack Flaherty has shown that he's got back to? So who knows? They can't look backwards, but the Dodgers definitely got him a good one right now.
For sure. Listen, the stat we just showed, 38 days. They've had 2 quality starts. And teams and the team wonders why their bullpen is dead when they get to September and October in the playoffs. They're dead. 2 quality starts in 38 days. Think about that. That is not how you build a team to go the long haul. Guys get worn out. Guys get tired. Bullpen guys, they can't cover 12, 13, 14, 15 outs every single night. That's why starting pitchers are still so valuable, and they always will be, because your bullpen cannot constantly cover this much And you see it in the postseason with the teams like this, the Rays and the Dodgers. Yes, they won in 2020. I know. Listen, they won in 2020. It was a shortened season. Guys only had to play 60 games, right? But when you see these teams, they get to the postseason, their bullpens are done. They are shot because they're so tired because they have to cover. And in the postseason, you can't send guys up and down. You can't use the IL to manipulate guys, give them breaks. You're stuck. And that's when they get caught. And it's happened over and over again.
And you know what? You know who started that? And I think it was the Rays started this problem, this trend of, hey, 4 or 5 innings, and we're going to go to the bullpen. And you saw other teams try to do it. I was a product of the Yankees, and I want to say it was 19, where we just wore our bullpen out. And everybody talked about the collapse and how horrible they were. But I remember being in the clubhouse looking around just going, these dudes look exhausted. Ottavino was exhausted. Canley was exhausted. Betances was hurt. So many guys were just exhausted from years prior to just being wearing out, like AJ said. So, I think we have to at some point too, and I get it. I know the stuff is up and a lot of injuries up, but you have to get back to finding guys that can eat innings. And this is why I go back, not to jump ship, but this is why I think that move, once again, my Baltimore Orioles were so big. Everybody's like, oh, Zach Eflin, he's not this guy, he's that. But guess what he does? He eats innings, and he saves that bullpen. So, like AJ said, these are important moves. And, with looking out how banged up this rotation that staff has been, when you talk about LA, they need a guy like Jack Flaherty, and the Yankees could have used him as well.
Yeah, good call. And I think a team could have used Brent Rooker. So let's do 2 shout-outs from that series, too. The Dodgers take the series, but Cheney in the chat goes, can we get some love for Brent Rooker? 6th in OPS, 8th in home runs. He's a stud this year. Yeah, he is by far. And Marcotte, I know.
They play hard for Cots. Like, you can say what you want. I know they've got a lot going on outside of the stadium and moving, but those dudes come to play every single day for Kotsay, and he needs to get his love too while we're giving out flowers.
Yeah, Rooker, I would say, just looks like an absolute pro there. He's setting a great example for everyone else. I mean, he is putting together quality at bat after quality at bat, and he's been one of the better hitters in the league this year, AJ. I know could have gotten traded. They didn't want to trade him.
Here's the one thing I'll say. If you're a young team like the A's, you better play hard. Because if you don't play hard, you better go back to Sacramento, which, I mean, they can just stay there. Like when the Sacramento goes on the road, they can just stay. Or the A's go on the road, they can stay there for when Sacramento plays there. But if you're a young guy, you better be playing as hard as you can if you want to stay in the big leagues. So listen, Marquette is awesome.
Does the White Sox do the White Sox?
No,
play hard?
That's part of the problem.
Yeah,
no, that's what I'm saying.
Question. Yeah, I feel you.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you better be playing hard as a young guy, and yeah, if you want us to go there, yeah, they don't always play hard. That's one of the big problems, and that's, if you talk to the fans of the White Sox, they'll tell you that all the time. Man, these guys don't give it everything they got, and that's what people are complaining about.
We will hit the Shohei Ohtani side of the equation with Rubén Amaro because I want to get his thoughts. I also want to let everyone know that Dodgers Territory runs after our show on YouTube, Mondays and Thursdays. So that's today. You'll have Alana and Clint breaking down more from the weekend. And like I said, we're going to talk Ohtani in a moment. But Mondays and Thursdays, go subscribe to the Foul Territory and Dodgers Territory YouTube channels and the rest of the FT networks, of course, including the Phillies show. Rubén Amaro is going to join us next from that show, go over the Fightin' Phils, kind of struggling right now, and we'll get his take on Ohtani. Okay, FT fam, we like to eat. We're excited about a new sponsor that we're bringing to the mix here. It is HelloFresh. Farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients, seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. You can skip the trips to the grocery store, and you can count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. It is America's #1 meal kit. You're looking below at the code that you can use to get started. If you're new to the party, HelloFresh.com/FTKids. We are very excited about the new partnership. Here you can take a look at the website. So if you go to sign up, which I have done and many of us behind the scenes in the FT fam have done as well, it is very, very affordable to get. Very easy to make meals, super customizable. There is a changing menu of 50 recipes to choose from each week. It makes it easy to always find something the whole fam is going to love. And you just choose your delivery day, you open your box, and you get started. many of us have done that. Kratz is off this week, but he's been cooking up a storm. So I've done the same. We've been cooking all kinds of healthy, I would say hearty meals too at home. You get quite a bit of portion control going there. So you can probably get your leftovers for lunch. And for a limited time, kids eat free. So go to HelloFresh.com/FTKids to unlock the exclusive offer. 1 free kids meal per box for 2 months while subscription is active. That's free kids meals just by going to HelloFresh.com/FTKids. HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit. AJ, at some point when you're home.
Oh, I can't wait. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I don't have to cook.
This is so
My
you.
wife doesn't have to cook. I can just throw something in. They're pre-made. Oh yeah, I'm pumped about this. I mean, if I ever get a couple of days at home, which is finally going to happen next week, I'm gonna eat so much HelloFresh. I'm gonna look like Scott Braun when he takes his shirt off. I'm gonna be all like,
like Scotty B.
Hey, Cam, I know you got good cooking at home, so we'll hook you up too.
Listen, school is about to start. You said the kids eat free. There's no better time than to get it right now. I'm telling you, beginning of the school year helps the parents out. It helps you with the homework. I cannot wait. I'm in.
I'm excited about this one. So HelloFresh.com/FTKids. We'll tell you more about it throughout the week. We'll be right back on FT. Hey, it's one of the stars of the Phillies show joining us right now on FT. It's Rubén Amaro. Rubén, great to see you. How you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. How's it going?
It's
good. The whole
HelloFresh
thing, man. He got me mouth watering already.
It is lunchtime.
It's getting close for me. I mean, I'm still on East Coast time, but I will tell you that my kids do subscribe and they dig it, man. It's big for them. They're college. They're just out of college. And I think it's a real convenient thing for them, too. It's awesome.
It's a good call. Yeah, I know you're on the West Coast. So I actually want to start on a series that you're not at, and then we'll get into what the Phillies and Mariners just did. But your thoughts on Shohei Ohtani's season and if he might get an MVP vote for you, and a 30-30 season now that could be a 40-40 season by the time we get to the end of the year. 3 stolen bases on that Saturday game. What do you think? He's pretty good?
He's okay.
Yeah.
No, I think I'm sort of old school when it comes to like the MVP voting, but in this case, I mean, I think about most valuable players, and I think about how important they are to the team, to teams that are good and are in contention. I think that's an important element of it, and I think about where the Dodgers would be right now if Shohei Ohtani was not Shohei Ohtani. I mean, it's ridiculous what he's doing. And if he wasn't there, there is no way that they'd be fending off the San Diego Padres right now. With the loss of Mookie Betts, with the loss of a bunch of other guys. Again, the DH position, a little tough to sort of value what he could bring to the table. I mean, if he played in the outfield and right field, it'd probably be a Gold Glover. I always thought that, I actually believe that if he just threw away the pitcher's glove and decided to just be an everyday player, he'd probably be a perennial MVP type player, because I think he'd be a great outfielder as well, because he's such a good athlete. That said, in this instance, just because of the value that he's bringing to the Dodgers, I think this is an MVP candidate, and I think it's hard to argue anymore.
Rubén, listen, you can't argue with it. You summed it up. I'm an old school guy like you. Like, I don't understand how the most valuable player on a team could be on a team that loses 100 games or misses the playoffs in April. How can that be the most valuable guy? Give me the guy that's keeping his team in it and leading his team to the postseason, and you nailed it for me. Without Shohei Ohtani, the Dodgers would be, they might be in second, third, fourth place. Who knows where they would be, because, Mookie's missed time. Obviously, Freddie has the family situation, which we're all thankful that, the positive updates that have come out for Freddie. But I'm going to ask you this. Was Shohei Ohtani contract worth it?
I mean, I don't know if it's worth it, but it's not my money. He's the best player I've ever seen. He's the best player. I mean, were any of us worth our money? I don't know. I just feel like
I was worth all my money. I was worth every cent. I should have got more money.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't very good, so I was probably, I don't even know if I know I wasn't worth my money, but I think the reality of it is, I mean, it's the marketplace, man. I mean, this guy is an iconic player. He is somebody. It's hard. I mean, they talk about unicorns, man. This is what he is. He's maybe one of the best pitchers in baseball when he's healthy. And he's clearly one of the best offensive players. I mean, Aaron Judge has a lot to say about that because he's a beast. But I mean, Ohtani's just amazing, man. The fact that he's done what he's done as far as the power and speed in the game, what he's accomplishing right now is just amazing, and you cannot discount that, even though he's a DH. I mean, this. I mean, is Soto going to be worth $500-700 million? I don't know. But all I know is that he is in the huge market. And I think that at the end of the day, the LA Dodgers are going to be pretty damn happy that they made this deal.
Agreed.
Cam, you good?
Yeah, I want to talk about the Phillies. I think we call Rubén to talk about the Phillies. Enough Dodgers. I want to get to the Phillies. I want to get to the Phillies and what he's seen, honestly, here over the last 18 days, the last month or so. Because for me, Rubén, when I'm watching, and through experience, every team is going to go through this, right? I don't think there's a team in baseball that's not going to go through some hiccups. One, it lets you know just how long our season is. But two, I'm just watching a team of guys who I feel like just maybe trying to do a little too much instead of actually doing less, when less is more. What are you seeing right now as you watch the Phillies go through these struggles? And a great job yesterday trying to, figure out a way to get a win, however you can. Some things started to go their way, even from Brandon Marsh, that ball falling in his glove. But what are you seeing as far as these guys? Are they trying to do too much? Is it a little bit too much pressure on the boys right now? What are you seeing?
Tim, I think you absolutely nailed it, because I think that's exactly right. I mean, I talked to Charlie Manuel about hitting all the time, right? And when you're in that box and you're trying to do a little bit too much and you're putting the heat on yourself, your body does not react the same way. Your mind and your body don't sync up. When you're going good, everything's smooth and easy and relaxed. And I just feel like I've never seen a team. I don't know if I've ever seen a team where the entire collective club, for like the last, I don't know, month or so, as you said, they literally all went into a slump. I mean, there was not, other than maybe Castellanos a little bit, everybody was dead in the water. And, I've never really seen that before. This is too talented a club for them to have this happen in a sustained way. I know it hasn't been a great, month and a half or so as far as their record is concerned, but this team is just way too talented not to get things back on track. And you're right. I mean, Wheeler came and became the stopper. I think he's one of the best, if not the best, pitchers in baseball. And it was huge for them for him to pitch the way he did to salvage that one game on Sunday. And it was also great to see Bryce Harper bust out of it, because, I mean, he is such a vital part. I know the first three guys in that lineup, they're going to grab the bulk of the at-bats, and they're really important in Schwarber, Turner, and Harper. But it's nice to see Harper bust out. Now, Turner has not. Turner was unconscious for the first couple of months during the time that he was not hurt. I mean, he was just incredible. He had like MVP type numbers. Got hurt, and now he's sort of been struggling as of late. But another guy that at some point he's going to get hot again, and these guys are going to take off. Somebody's going to pay for the fact that these guys were struggling for a while.
Well, that was my question. Does this show how important Harper was? Because what was he? He was like 1 for 30 something, 1 for 33, or some crazy number. I mean, this shows the value of Bryce Harper, right? We just talked about Ohtani for MVP. I mean, Harper goes 1 for 33. The Phillies lose 6 games in a row. It seems like maybe they need him just a wee bit. I know Yeah, I mean,
just a bit.
I mean, I think this helps his MVP case for someone like me that looks at it as, like we talked about it,
Yes.
more of an old school view. Like he struggled, they struggled, right? Everyone else, boom, 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 whatever they're doing. But Bryce Harper 1 for 30, we lose 6 games in a row. Now Wheeler went out and absolutely shoved yesterday, but guess what? Bryce Harper got what, 3 or 4 hits yesterday?
Got 3 knocks, yeah, and a 3-run home run.
Yeah, the home run. Yeah, I wasn't even gonna go there, but I mean that was the key for me. Harper got hot. I know Schwarber led off the game with a homer, but Harper 3 hits. Guess what? Phillies win.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, he's obviously an MVP candidate, and I had him as a front runner until he went into a little bit of the slump, and then Shohei's just going nuts. So it's going to be a hell of a race between those two. I think. I really think it's going to come down to those two guys as far as the MVP candidacy is concerned. Now, somebody might step forward, and somebody might go nuts for the next month and a half, or 2 months, but they're certainly those two at the top of the ticket as far as the running in that. I think that Harper is just super vital to this team. I do think that they have some depth to maybe if he does go south, that they have enough depth in their lineup to be able to handle things. That said, he is incredibly vital to this ball club. He's one of the best players of our era. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's hitting milestones that are ridiculous. 3,000, just got his 3,000th base, I guess, total base, and 250 doubles the other day. Just an amazing player, and he's going to be playing for a long time because he takes care of himself.
Hey, Rube, let me ask you this because you've got a ton of experience, and it's easy to harp on what's been going on. But let me ask you this. What do you think is a bigger issue when you have teams just riddled with injuries and they're struggling, or you have a team like the Phillies who they're actually fully healthy for the most part, and they're just going through a bad stretch? For me, I think I look at the positive. Hey, these guys are going through some tough stretches right now, but they're healthy. So like you said, they're going to come out of it. What's the feeling in that clubhouse? Because they have a resilient group of guys. What are you hearing?
Yeah, I think these guys they're obviously very frustrated during that period. They're not playing the type of baseball that they're accustomed to, so there's some frustration there. They were dinged up a little bit. Now they got Suarez on the IL. He's a really important part of their rotation. I think that they've lost a little bit of depth there when he started struggling with his back. I think he's going to have a full bullpen on Monday, and I think he's getting closer and closer to coming back. So that's a big deal. You had JT banged up, and when you lose your catcher, I mean, AJ and all you guys know how important that position is, especially when you're relying on your starting pitching to have success. That was the big thing. I mean, people were talking about, well, these guys aren't hitting. Well, for me, that it was actually the starting pitching that was so dominant in the early part of the season. Guys started getting banged up a little bit and not quite as effective. And when that started happening, that starts to hit on you. That starts to grate on you a little bit, and it makes it a little tougher. I always believe in starting pitching as the number one thing. If you have consistent starting pitching, you can always stay in games. Look what the Seattle Mariners, they couldn't hit worth a lick. And they stayed in it because their pitching was their starting pitching, and their bullpen was very good as well. And they've stayed in it. And now they're starting to swing the bats a little bit better. But I really actually believe that this is a team that was built on pitching. I know that they have a lot of offensive players. There's no question, of big-time bats. But the reason why they're having so much success, their starting pitching was really, really good. And that was carrying them for a while. And they got to get some of those guys back. They're missing Taijuan Walker. He's getting closer. He's starting to throw rehabs. And when Suarez gets back, that'll make them much, much better.
I got one more in pitching. Hold that thought, though. I want to show the play yesterday with Brandon Marsh so eloquently catching a fly ball, teaching kids how to get it done. Okay, kids? Close your eyes. Put your glove up in the air. Watch the rocket go almost over the wall, but a little before it, about 1.5 feet before it, and it will just land in your glove, right, Cam? Isn't that what you learned when you played outfield?
This literally gave me flashes of Sandlot when they stick him out in the outfield. It's like, hey, he's like, kid, just put your glove up and I'll hit it to it. But no, that was, you know what? I'll actually say this. As an outfielder, I know there was some luck involved in this, Scotty, but you are taught to, even when you don't see it, try to run to a spot, right? Run as close as you can to that spot, and then maybe the ball will find you. So that was one of those incredible plays, a play that the Phillies actually needed, right? We talked about things going your way because that whole first half, the Phillies found ways to win ball games. Where here lately, it's like they found ways to lose games. And even a play like that was one of those plays that if that ball falls, if it drops, now here we go again. It's like the wheels falling off. So I think that was one of those plays of just the atmosphere going, hey, guys, don't panic. We're going to turn it back around for you. But, hey, let me give Brandon Marshall flowers. Run to a spot, stick your glove up just in case the ball finds you.
Yeah, and he was even saying, I can't see, right? I like that we were able to see that, Ruben. He's like, I can't see.
Yeah, no doubt. And Cam, you were spot on. I believe that too. I mean, it was a lucky catch, and he just sort of reacted as it hit his glove. But you're right. He went to the spot. He had the right angle, and he was going to the right spot in the outfield to make the play. And that's all you can ask. The one thing that concerns me about outfield play and those kind of plays is that nobody uses the flip downs anymore. The flip downs are the only glasses that actually stop the sun from impeding you from seeing the baseball. The flip downs actually polarize such that you can see the baseball when you're looking into the sun. The other glasses, I think they're cooler and they're neat and they stop the glare. But nobody ever uses the ones that they're supposed to use, and I think they've become obsolete. I don't get it, but again, I'm a little too old school. But it was a big play. You were right about that, Cam. I mean, that was one of those plays that maybe it turns some things around for the Phillies, and they start doing exactly that. Start winning the ball games that they should be winning.
And let me add, this is why I love working with Rubén, because he's always teaching. And for outfielders out there, what you really want to do is you want to get on the other side of that ball. So if you don't have the flip down glasses, so a little, it's a tough play because Brandon Marsh is running to the gap. But if you can and you don't have those old school flip down glasses, like you said, I don't even know where you would get them from nowadays, Rube. But you got to get around on the other side of that ball to block the sun. So, but a great job, and I appreciate you always teaching, Rubén.
I would say this, honestly, Jackie Bradley Jr. was one of the most instinctive center fielders I've ever been around. And he actually worked on that. When we hit him fly balls from time to time, he would put his body in positions that were real awkward positions so he could work on actually making those plays. And we would actually have that drill when I was coaching in the outfielders in New York and Boston. We had like the sun drill where we would, have the guys try to work their bodies so that the angle that they were watching the ball was not the angle looking into the sun. It's an important one because, hey, when a pitcher makes a pitch and gets an out, you want it to be an out, right? And that's one of those situations where, I mean, it was a big play because it was still a 1-0 game, and fortunately, it stuck in that glove. Hey,
Rubén, I tell you what, when I was coming up with the Twins, we weren't even allowed to wear Oakleys. We could only wear flip downs. So try being a catcher. Tom Kelly's like, you don't wear Oakleys. You don't wear none of that. You got to wear flip downs. I'm like, TK, that doesn't exactly work with a mask. How am I going to flip them down? So, yeah, I mean, listen, they're still around. You can still find them in some places, but they're not as accessible as they used to be. And I agree, man. Those things, I'd goof around with them on the bench and you flip them down. I could barely see the pitcher from the dugout sometimes. So,
right.
Yeah, they definitely kill the sun for you.
Well, Rubén, we appreciate the time as always. Great to hang out with you. And let's do this while you're on. We'll just give everyone a little sneak peek of what's coming up on the Phillies show. It just dropped, the latest episode. Little Zach Wheeler conversation to kind of ease some of the concern, the 8 innings strong from him yesterday. That investment has worked out quite nicely for the Phils. But there's the big threes, Zalecki, Salisbury, and Rubén on the FT Network. You can catch the Philly Show on YouTube. Just type in the Philly Show or wherever you get your podcast. Do the same thing. Rubén, thank you. Appreciate you. We'll catch up soon, okay?
Great to talk with you guys, all right? Have a great week and rest of the weekend.
Thank you. Yeah, you too. Have a great week and enjoy the West Coast, and we'll be right back on FT. All right, here we go. Let me get a question or two from the crowd right now for the people. KT Toon, who we met in Texas up first. Has anyone noticed the slumps this year have lasted longer than usual? Anyone feeling that?
No. Slumps as far as what? Teams or batters? What are we talking about?
It's a good question. My guess would be batters, but I don't know. I guess you could make a case for teams maybe because the Phillies have slumped for about a month, the Yankees for about a month.
Baltimore has been had some ups and downs. Have the Cleveland Guardians been the most consistent team in baseball?
Oh yeah,
they just had a run. They just had a bad run not long ago. So
okay, was it a month run? I know the Phillies. This is going on like a month now. But I mean, technically everybody's kind of had a slump, I guess you could say. So I think, for me, that means the game right now, for what it's worth, is in a good place, right? Because I think this is the most parity that we've had in a lot of years. Is there any team that's on pace to win 100 games at this point? I don't think so. So, and I think it's been proven that you don't really have to win 100 games to win a World Series or go deep in the playoffs. So, I guess the slumps have lasted a little bit longer, but I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. I think that means the parity is getting better in baseball.
I don't think they lasted longer. We just talk about them more. For me,
yeah. Well, we have a show every day, so
no. I just think people talk about them more. I think every team goes through some ups and downs, no matter how. Even 100-loss teams. Now, maybe the 2001 Mariners didn't when they won 116, but every other team goes through something at some point, and players go through it, teams go through it. It's just more scrutiny with social media and everything. That's why I think we feel like they seem like, they lasted so long.
I'm going to answer this other one because it's complex, but I think we can do it pretty easily. I Need Money said, do you think we could see a world where the union negotiates a tanking tax, kind of like the CBT tax, but for teams that refuse to spend a competitive amount of money for an extended time? No.
I already answered that on the chat. I answered that.
Yeah.
They already do it with the draft.
What did you say?
They do it with the draft.
Yes.
They already trying to do it. It ain't working. It just still ain't working.
You're saying with the lottery too?
Yeah, with the lottery thing they did.
Yeah. Like the lottery does work though. It helps a little bit, right? Like it's going to punish certain teams that think that they can just disappear for a long period of time. It takes time though, right? Because the GMs try and sell you on their long-term 5-year plan, the famous 5-year plan that AJ talks about. But then the owner's going to bounce back and be like, you can't do that. There's a draft lottery. We can't have the first pick every year.
Yeah, that's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
Whew. Okay. We're going to go to the Yankees for a moment here. Gleyber Torres was benched on Friday. He basically pimped a single. He watched it, thought it was going to go over the wall, and it did not. That was off Kevin Gausman. And then, fast forward, AJ, eventually, Anthony Volpe doubles, and Gleyber is toast at home. So that makes it hurt even more. He's actually been caught 5 times at the plate this season, which leads baseball. A little bit of that, obviously, is luck and getting caught in those situations. But more importantly, when you put that sequence together, Aaron Boone says, you're done, you're out of the game. What did you think when you saw it?
Who hasn't done it as a player? Cam, you ever hit a ball off the wall and you're like, I should have been on second? Everybody's done this, man.
100%, man. 100%.
Listen, here's my thing with this. Everyone's been there. Everyone's done it. Aaron Boone's trying to take control. But listen, let's not forget what this all comes back to. Jazz Chisholm's there now, right? Aaron Boone has Jazz Chisholm. And remember, Gleyber said, I don't play third base. I play second base, right? So, again, I said this when it happened. This has turned into a bigger thing because they didn't expect Gleyber Torres to react the way he did. And then he gets benched for something that, listen, Aaron Boone probably did this at some point in his career. I guarantee it. He hit a ball he thought was going out of the park, and it didn't go, and he got a single. This isn't a big deal, and I don't like when people are like, and listen, as somebody that, you try to run as hard as you can every time, Cam, but nobody on earth can do it, right?
Yeah, facts.
You hit a ball, you think it's gone. I remember one time I hit a ball somewhere, and Jerry Reinsdorf came up to me after the game and goes, you probably should have been on second on that ball. And I was like, oops. Like, what am I supposed to say? Yeah, my bad. Like, sorry. Yeah, stuff happens, and you make mistakes, and you move on from it. The one thing I do like is that Gleyber talked to reporters after the game. He stood up, and you know what? He fought to stay in the game. So good for Gleyber Torres on this one.
I couldn't agree with you more. You actually just gave me goosebumps. At the end of the day, we want to see accountability in our athletes. And Gleyber Torres is a former teammate of mine, a guy who I admire a lot. I have a lot of respect and love for. And like AJ said, it's a long season. And let me just elaborate, especially for guys playing in the middle of the diamond, catcher, shortstop, second base, center fielder. Those are grueling positions on the field. And it's no excuse for Gleyber to not hustle. But he said, I thought it was a homer. It wasn't. And he took accountability. And what I liked is he said, hey, I actually think Aaron Boone made the right move. So right there, for me, you automatically should get the respect back from the fans, whatever respect that you may have lost from your teammates, which I doubt he did at all. Because like he said, they showed the clip of Verdugo doing the same thing two plays later on the ground ball, pretty much walking down the line. So I think this is like AJ said, this is more a strategic move to try to get these guys to buy in. And one thing that I noticed, right, because I follow the Yankees a lot, the next day there was a base hit, and Gleyber came out the box like a bat out of hell, rounded the bag hard, looking to turn a single into a double. So for me, hey, message was sent right there. Hey, he's playing the game a little harder. He's taking a little bit more initiative and accountability on, hey, you know what? I do have to do better if I want to help this team get to where we want to get to, and that's the playoffs and the World Series. So Gleyber couldn't handle it more professionally. I think Booney handled it as professional as he could as well. And for me, the next day, he atoned for it by playing the game the way it's supposed to be played. So, I say kudos to Gleyber and props to Gleyber for standing up like a man and taking accountability for his actions.
And also, it was a message being sent by Aaron Boone. We got 2 months left. I need everything y'all got. That was it.
Yes.
Aaron Boone was sending it, and it was the opportunity to send it. I mean, listen, Juan Soto hit a ball last night that he was pimping. I mean, and it hit the top of the wall, boop, and went, woo. If it goes boop and comes back, he gets a single. Does Aaron Boone bench Juan Soto?
Judge?
we know the answer to that.
I mean, I'm just asking. Just think about it. That ball, boop,
It's been a combination.
does it go
of
this
stuff
way?
for Gleyber this
It
year.
bounces back.
Yeah, AJ said it. Social media, the presence of power, social media, dude. Every time you look on social media, you look on it's Gleyber not making a play defensively or nonchalantly doing something. So it's like we help compound these issues and put guys under more of a microscope sometimes, and I think is somewhat necessary. So that's the world we live in now.
Two other parts of the game or the series, just for a quick minute. Obviously, Judge is on fire. It's a good race with him and Bobby Witt Jr. for MVP. They ended up intentionally walking him 3 times yesterday, a total of 4 times in this series. And I know they kind of set him up in some traffic, but it was a blown save for Clay Holmes again yesterday. They ultimately won with the DJ LeMahieu walk-off. That's now 9 blown saves on the season for Clay. So, no, not worried on either. I mean, obviously not worried on either of those for Judge. I think it's the right move sometimes is to intentionally walk him more often. But you're not worried about Holmes, AJ?
No, I think it'll be fine. Again, we just talked about this. Everybody goes like this a little bit, right? Right, Cam? Everyone's a little bit up. Everyone's a little bit down. You go through these lulls. And it just happens when you're in New York. By the way, we're changing when the White Sox do win a game, we're changing my background on the screen, all right? Whatever team they beat, because they're going to have to wear it, the fact that they lost them. But I'm not worried about it because players go like this. We just talked about it. Bryce Harper went 1 for 3. Everyone's like, oh, my gosh, what happened to Bryce Harper? He's fine. Clay Holmes will be fine.
Not to mention that's what you have. So if that's what you have, you got to rock with what you have.
That's true. Right. There aren't other options. I mean, Mark Leiter Jr. is pitching really well. He pitched great.
You're going to close him? You're going to close him in New York? You're going to close him in New York in Game 7 of the playoff series?
I want him. Nope. High leverage. I'm good where he's at. I agree. Yep. Holmes is your guy. You ride that out. I'm with you. Same page. Just pointing out the stats. 9 is a high number, but you hope that you get some of that out of the way. It's a high number. Blown saves. That's a big number. You get into double digits. But anyway, let's step aside. We're going to talk to Craig Mish about the Miami Marlins, the major league team that is doing a little damage from the weekend. What? Minor league team? But it is a major league team with a lot of prospects.
4A.
They played the Braves pretty tough. 4A? Quad A.
Yeah, quad A.
Mike Trout's done for the season. So I'm going to try and take a positive spin off this. The knee didn't recover from the torn meniscus. He's got to do the surgery again. That is brutal. Okay. I don't know the depths of how that all goes, but that sucks. They did the MRI first when he was feeling weird after he came back for an at-bat. and it came back clean. But then obviously they checked again, and it's no good. Here, I'll give you the glass half full. They don't need him this year. They're going to suck either way. I'm just trying to look at something positive. Our game needs him because he's awesome, but get well, and I'm going to cross my fingers that we get a more complete Trout for next year. Here, one other positive. The injuries aren't chronic. Look it up. It's different almost every time. It's back, it's wrist, it's calf, it's knee. Hamate. So with some guys, it's like, oh, he can't get over this back issue, right? He can't get over this knee issue. That's worse on average.
Cam, you tell me. Meniscus running around in the outfield. I know about meniscus squatting down. I get to sit the whole game. You have to stand on your feet.
I actually strained my meniscus in 2017. Didn't end up tearing it. Had a weird slide going to second base. Shortstop deked me, so I got down late, and I remember hearing a pop, and it was the scariest thing ever. And I probably missed about 3 or 4 weeks with no tear. And for a guy whose game was predicated around speed and running and defense and athleticism, again, I was no Mike Trout, but very similar to his game. Man, that's a tough injury to come back from. And I think if we've watched Mike Trout, he's a guy who I think we can all say is really hurt him, hurt his spirit to see him hurt. I think he knows how much he needs to be on the field. His team needs to be on the field. The game needs him on the field. And you can just see, how distraught he is every time these things happen. And playing with Mike Trout, this guy loves to play the game. So, this is a tough injury for a guy like that. A lot of torque. This is not a little guy. I mean, this guy is 220-plus pounds. I tell everybody all the time he's the white version of Bo Jackson. That's what Bo Jackson would look like if he played the game. So when you talk about a guy having to, move like that, having to create so much force, it's just it's tough.
Hey, we're back on FT, and my friend Craig Mish joins us right now on the show. You can see him all over the place. SportsGrid, he's on MLB Network. He's on, obviously, a contributor to the Herald Sports, so make sure you catch his show every morning too. Newswire. Craig, great to see you, and I'm wondering what's on your mind lately with the refreshed version of the Miami Marlins and their next great rebuild, and I can talk however I want to talk because I spent time down there. I got a lot of friends and fam down there. We've, gone through it together sometimes and spoken about the Marlins. What's going on there, man?
Yeah, look, a lot to unpack. They made more trades than I could have ever imagined on trade deadline day. And I've been through a lot of these, Scott, and I don't ever remember not being able to put the phone down. That was a first for me. Usually I could get lunch or something like that in between, but every time I thought, nah, this is it, I would get a text saying, yep, no, there's more coming. So, they're going to obviously next year be playing a lot of young players. They're going to go through it right now for the next half of the season, whatever the last 2 months that are left. And, certainly I think that they're hoping that these trades end up getting them to where they need to be in a couple of years. And of course, that still remains to be seen.
Hey, Craig, Cam Maybin here. And one thing I want to talk about is amongst the guys who are getting an opportunity to come in and show that they can play at the big leagues at a high level is I think one of my new favorite players to watch is Xavier Edwards. Can you talk about how he has come up and just hit the ground running? And how good is this? Can he keep this up? Because I know he had a great career at Vandy, but I'm looking at the numbers and they speak for themselves. 31 games, 42 hits. I mean, OPS, over 900. What can you tell us about Xavier Edwards? Because he's a fun guy to watch.
Yeah, he is. And, Cam, you could speak to all this, coming over after a big trade deal, obviously with Miguel Cabrera. I remember you coming over and getting your chance to play. And that's kind of the way that this is going to work for a lot of players. For Edwards, Cam, his shot came when they DFA'd Tim Anderson, who they signed in the offseason, didn't work out at all. And so now Edwards gets his shot. I mean, guys, maybe you'd be surprised to see how good his numbers are put up against the guy that they traded, Luis Arias. He's playing every day at shortstop. I mean, he has been a singles machine. He's stealing bases. I guess the only question is he a long-term shortstop or is he a long-term second baseman? Right now, they're giving him a chance to play shortstop. A lot of people feel like inevitably he'll be the starting second baseman for the Marlins, maybe even as soon as next season. But Cam, you're right. He's made the most of his chance. He really came out of spring training with some strange infection to his foot, and that kept him out for all of April and May. And then since then, went to the minors, started hitting, and he's never stopped hitting since he's come back.
It's a nice story. But listen, I want to ask the real story here. Under 15 million for big league payroll right now. Why didn't they trade Skip Schumacher when they traded everybody else? I mean, they should have just traded him away. I'm sure they would have if they could have, but their payroll right now is under $15 million. And I know they played the Braves well, but come on. What is happening? Are they that broke in Miami? If they are, sell the team because they can make a couple billion off the team.
Yeah, I mean, I think the payroll, AJ, is going to be a lot higher than that. I'm pretty sure. Sandy Alcantara's due about $20 million next year, and they're not trading him. So just to start with, I think that takes care of one player. But at the same time, I think that they did try, AJ, to sign a lot of players. I mean, they signed Johnny Cueto to $10 million. They signed Avisel Garcia to $50 million. They signed Gene Segura to $18 million. They kept trying and they kept failing. So they're trying to do things in a different way. Now, eventually you're going to have to fill in the blanks. You're going to have to spend money to make things work and not just sign like one player like Tim Anderson. You're going to have to do a lot better than that. I understand that. But, Tampa Bay, this is what they want to compare themselves to. They've made a living signing guys to really good contracts and then selling high on them. And so I would imagine that that's kind of the way that they're going to operate moving forward into the future. They're going to try to do it like the Rays. A lot of teams have tried to do it like Tampa Bay and not succeeded. We'll see if Miami is one of those teams that can.
Do you think they should be doing that, Craig? Because, the Rays haven't won a World Series, and the NL East certainly is not going to be easy for Miami on the long term, right? You've got a Braves team that has many of their stars locked up for a long time. I think the Mets are going to take the opposite approach and just spend like crazy, right? There's other good talent in there. Of course, the Phillies could win a World Series this year. And from a business standpoint, I mean, still being a Florida resident, but in a different location, the fans don't fall in love with Rays players for too long because they go away. So I'm just wondering how we can fix the brand of baseball in South Florida, because we both know, there are tons of baseball fans down there, and often there's more of them at a Miami Hurricanes baseball game.
Yeah, I don't know that there's any fixing it permanently, Scott. As you said, you went to UM, you lived it here. And during those years, or even, prior to that, and even after to that, you saw stars in Miami that people did not go up to see. I mean, they did not go to see Stanton and Ozuna and Yelich and those players. And yes, once every 5 days, they did show up for Jose Fernandez. But beyond that, they just never have generated massive amounts of people in that stadium. The same goes for Tampa Bay. By the way, the same goes for Arizona. And I think that what these teams have in common is, I know it sounds crazy, but outside of Colorado, those 4 teams that expanded back in the early 90s, those teams all had original fan bases that were rooting for other teams. And I think that has hurt all of those fan bases for some reason, not the Rockies. I don't know why. The Rockies maybe not even run the right way at all, but for some reason they get 30,000 every single night. But it has never helped Miami. It has never helped Tampa Bay. And the Diamondbacks are never going to be anywhere in the top 5 or top 10 in attendance as well. These transient cities where a lot of people are from other places. You're right, Scott. They love baseball here in South Florida. My son's in travel baseball. They all love the Marlins too. But the reality is that when you ask people about going to the games, no one has been able to figure out what the secret sauce is. And having a guy hitting 60 home runs in the MVP, people did not show up, Scott, for that season that Stanton hit the home runs too. So I don't know what the answer is.
Well, Craig, let me ask this. You probably don't have any idea what the answer is, but after all that said, I just really want to know, what is the outlook? What is the direction that the Marlins are trying to go? I get the whole Tampa Bay Rays trying to kind of follow that whole outlook, but realistically, what is their outlook on, okay, we're just going to try to do what we can to stay competitive as possible, especially with this new playoff format, try to keep fans somewhat excited because we always are going to have a chance of possibly getting a wild card spot. Like, what's the direction that these guys are trying to go?
Well, Cam, they still have right now, when healthy, and that goes for every team in baseball at this stage of the game where no one has healthy pitching, but the Marlins do have Sandy Alcantara hypothetically coming back next year after Tommy John, and the same thing with Yuri Perez. They also have Jesus Luzardo, and they have a nice, really complement of young pitchers, 1 through 5, maybe even 6 or 7. But there's no question that offensively next year, Cam, they're going to be going through some sort of transition / rebuild type season, because as you guys know, playing the game, you can play 6 or 7 rookies, and the odds of all 6 or 7 hitting at the same time are slim to none. So pitching will be okay. Hitting will be a little bit of a challenge. And I think what they're hopeful is that they can draft and develop players better than they have the last few years. A lot of players that they've drafted, unfortunately, have either gone to other places or just simply haven't succeeded in a Marlins uniform. So I think that will be the direction. They're going to have one of the top picks in the draft coming out after this year, potentially maybe even next year, depending on how things go. And, hopefully 2-3 years down the line, they'll have players that, offensively speaking, are able to compete at the big league level, because that's really where they've struggled since they've traded those players like Ozuna, Yelich, Stanton. And
Does
Realmuto.
anybody? I mean, it did make the playoffs last year. Let's not forget. Does anybody think Skip Schumacher is going to be there next year, besides maybe some person? Because I think Skip does an incredible job. I mean, I think Skip is one of the best managers in baseball with what he's given. But does anybody think he's going to be the Marlins manager next year?
Right. I'm sorry I didn't answer your question about trading Skip, though, earlier, AJ. That was a good point. I'm sorry I didn't answer that. I don't know. Can that happen? Do we ever see trading of Major League Baseball?
Lupinella got traded.
Yeah, that happened.
For Randy
in
Wynn.
90 or
For Randy
95
Wynn.
or something like that? Yeah, for Seattle, right? Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, so, AJ, he's a free agent at the end of the year. You guys had him on the show. He told you guys that his option was removed in the offseason, so he can choose to go wherever he wants to go. I agree with you. I think he's a really good manager. And I think that he'll be fine if he wants to manage next year. Perhaps he'll get an opportunity. There are only 30 of these gigs, so there's always competition for it. Every year we see 3, 4, 5 managers removed. And I think we'll probably see the same thing this year. And then Skip will have to decide, does he want to manage again? I think proximity is going to be important for him this time. He's got kids, young kids, of course, one doing fantastic in college. I'm going to guess that he'll want to be somewhere on the West Coast if he can. But if you're asking me, is he coming back to the Marlins, AJ, next year? No, I don't believe he will.
And Craig, just to follow up there, is this just a case of Peter Bendix and the front office wanting to select their own guy to run with for the next whatever amount of years that they get given to, give this a shot to be a contender? It's not like you can necessarily point to something and be like, oh, Skip's doing this really wrong. You think it's just, hey, GM takes over, they want their own guy?
You know what's funny, Scott, is that when people say that there's a mutual decision, we probably wink our eye and say, no way, that's not the case. I think this will be extremely mutual. I think Skip will want to move on to another gig, and I think Peter Bendix will want his own guy. So I think that's where we're headed. There's always a 1% or 0.001% Michael Jordan scenario that something changes, but I just see a change coming for them. And yeah, if Skip leaves, I'm sure, Scott, that Peter will want his own guy. Absolutely.
All right. So who would that list include? He came from the Rays. So are we just going to see another Rays guy, a Rays coach off Kevin Cash's staff, come down and be the next Marlins manager?
I mean, I have some ideas and some thoughts as to who it could be, but that was not really one that came to mind. I think they also have to be cognizant and careful. When AJ, when he took people from other organizations to join the staff, Gabe Kapler being one of them, Rachel Balkovic being another, Frankie Pieri being another one. I mean, these people were not from Tampa Bay. So basically, the idea is that they let you speak to Peter, he gets the job under the idea that, hey, look, you're not just going to take everybody from the Rays organization. So while it could be somebody, I'm not going to rule that out. I would think it'd be a base coach from one of the postseason teams that's looking for his first opportunity. I think another first-time manager does make sense.
Okay, great stuff. As always, Craig, great to catch up with you. Make sure you follow at Craig Mish, Mish. He is the Marlins insider for many years, as he said, working the phones, breaking many deals that the Marlins do all the time. Craig, great catching up with you. Thanks for coming on.
Sure, Cam. I'm still waiting for the MVP chain to come back. I don't know what happened. I mean, I know you said that you don't have it anymore, but that was you.
We got to find that out. We got to find out who got that. I think I got an idea. I'm gonna call Juice. I think Juice might know where we can track that down.
All right, let's get it back. Thanks again.
Thanks, Craig. Be right back. Cam, you want to give us a little more context for those that are unaware?
Yeah, so 2018, when I signed back with the Marlins, my whole thing is after playing with the Astros, after playing so many years on losing teams and going to a winning organization, I picked up a few things that, can bring teams together. So one thing that I thought would be cool, being in Miami, the city of Miami, the U, the U had the turnover chain, so I thought it was really cool. So I got with the best barber, in Miami, one of the best barbers there are, and that's Heads Up Juice. And he got with some guys and made us a super sick Miami Marlins like homer celebration chain. I mean, it was sick, bro. Decked out, the whole fish. It was huge. And at some point when I got traded, apparently that thing got missing, Scotty. So I don't know. Somebody's got the hot fingers, got the hot hands, but somebody is holding on to a pretty nice celebration chain. So I think they've been looking for that thing for 5 years, man. So I'm gonna have to do some call some people on the Miami PDs, some of my people, to see if we can track that down.
I think I saw that thing overseas somewhere. Someone bought it.
Yeah, exactly. It probably didn't cost much.
Ran.
Let's be honest. With the way things been going, it probably didn't cost very much. Low payroll. It probably was on sale.
Dude, that might be the most expensive part of the Marlins payroll back in the day.
Facts. Big facts.
Right? Jeez. All right, let's get to one quick question here from the fans. Oh, let's see. Small market teams are supposed to lose. So when they lose, how is that tanking? There was a lot of tanking conversation going on in the chat. It's complicated, right? My mission is I just don't want every team to think that they're the Rays. We've talked about that a lot since this show was launched. You can't have every team be the Rays. Like, you can try, but there's not going to be many of those. And if half the league is just one big rebuild after another, it's brutal. That's why I was pushing really hard for the Tigers to not take a step back. I mean, if you really don't believe in Scooble, I think you're crazy. But if that's where you're going, you're kind of telling your fan base, we need to press a little bit of a reset button. I think that would have been a huge mistake. I listened to Scott Harris the other day on an interview, and he said they never got close. He kind of, shot down when anything was getting thrown out there, which we talked about too. It sounded like it was certain execs and GMs giving insiders info to put out there, but they said, sure, we'll take a phone call just like you would on most teams. Like, yeah, if you want to tell me what you'd give up, but nothing close at all. So we're going to ask Scooble. We have Scooble on this week. I think it's tomorrow. Better than box scores. I want to make sure we give love to certain contenders and just big series as we're getting closer to, very meaningful results. I mean, they are all season, but they mean a lot right now. It's like AJ says, the SEC, it just means more. Well, wild card matchups, they just mean more. Pirates and Diamondbacks, AJ, I thought was really good from the weekend. I thought that was a good fight. Diamondbacks take the series. There were a couple really close games, including yesterday. And then there's also a Paul Skeens workload conversation as his ERA jumped. It took a pretty big hit. It went from 1.90 to 1.99 after his 14th start. 5 1/3, 2 runs, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. And Ben Charrington goes on a weekly radio show appearance on the Fan out there and said, they might pick a spot here and there where they'll have him throw fewer pitches, but the recovery between starts will be, a bigger, piece of the puzzle than the actual innings count. So take that for what it is. He's now at 113 1/3 innings this season between the majors and the minors. His professional high was last year, 129 1/3. So they're keeping an eye on him, but it sounds like they're doing a pretty good job of letting him pitch.
They are. Listen, let him pitch. How do we know he's going to get hurt? Let him pitch. You don't know he's going to get hurt. Just see what happens. I don't understand why they've already done all this. Like, let's keep his workload light in the beginning. Remember his first few starts, he was throwing like 1 inning, 2 innings, 3 innings. Oh, his first big league start, he went like, 4 innings? Because we're like, oh, no, too many innings. How do you know he's going to get hurt? This wasn't a guy that pitched a ton. He was a catcher, right? And now he's been converted. He's worked his tail off to get to a point. The Pirates are in the playoff race. Let the guy pitch. And every 5th day that he pitches in Pittsburgh, maybe give him some days off, bounce him back a little bit here and there. But man, every time this guy pitches, it's an event. So let the guy pitch.
I'm with you, AJ. I mean, the energy that he's created, the buzz that he's created in that city. I go back to when Ellie De La Cruz came up a year ago with the Cincinnati Reds, and all of a sudden the attendance was through the roof. The fan base started to have a belief in what this organization was building. Well, you're seeing the same exact thing in Pittsburgh with Paul Skeens. One thing we heard prior to him getting drafted is how much of a competitor he was, how he pushed his teammates, how he had a high expectation for what it is to have good work ethic. And you're seeing this you rub off on everybody around him. There's a belief, there's a confidence around that team, especially when he's on the bump. Guys behind him believe that we're going to win when he's out there on the mound. So why would you do anything to disrupt that? I like what AJ said. If anything, you find a day in the schedule where it might be lining up close to an off day. Maybe you allow him to skip a start or two moving down the stretch. But what you've created right now, the buzz, the belief, you went out and made some really nice moves. Those pieces have already came in right away and started to help you out. Brian De La Cruz, I love that move. I love what they've done. Quiet, small moves, but right now I don't think you do anything to disrupt the energy, the positivity that they've created and the belief that they've created in that city. I think you have to keep it going.
And the postseason's now for the Pirates. They haven't been there in a minute. I mean, they need this. You know, they're in the thick of the race. If they don't get in, they don't get in. But you can't lose by a game or two on a wild card spot and say, damn, shouldn't have skipped a Paul Skeens start or two because we didn't even need him in the playoffs because we didn't make the playoffs. So it's a delicate balance.
Especially when he doesn't sound like a guy like Crochet. You don't hear anything from his camp going, oh, we're going to back him up. This dude wants the ball. Like, he wants the ball. And you have a guy like that.
He's pitched too, though.
Oh, exactly.
You know, just to back up Crochet, I mean, he barely pitched for a long period of time. They had him in the bullpen. He was hurt. Skeens has none of that. He's been a bulldog in college. Yeah, he wasn't in the major leagues yet until now, but he's pitched. Like I mentioned, like if he's at 130 last year of, you know, real innings, and I think you could potentially, I don't think you have to worry at this point, right? We're already 2 months to go in the season. If he gets to 170, 180, who cares? That's fine.
Exactly.
You know, I'm saying even if they make the playoffs and he gets an extra start or two, I don't think the Pirates are winning the World Series, but who knows? I could be wrong. I think the Diamondbacks could win a World Series. I'm not kidding.
True.
I mean, if they get a pitcher coming back, what's up?
And let me add this to Paul Skeens. And I think a lot of this talk came from his last outing, which is crazy because there was a lot of rumblings of he wasn't that sharp in his last outing. Well, even when he isn't sharp, he's still sharp, dude. I mean, the dude is nasty. So I think sometimes the expectation that he's setting for himself too, you know, when he came out, he wasn't as sharp as he was. He wasn't as fine-tuned with the location, the pinpoint, but he was still so nasty, man. And I just don't think you can afford, like you said, Scotty, to skip 2 or 3 starts and miss out on the playoff spot when you have a guy like that who wants the baseball.
No, they're on the outside looking in, but they're close enough that you got to treat this like your postseason right now. By the way, I just wanted to point out, like, the 2 homers that I saw that really stood out that made a huge difference in the wins for the Diamondbacks. So Friday they were down big. They were down 5-0. And then they take a 7-6. What was it? No, Pittsburgh, I guess, was down, right? 5-0. And then they take a 7-6 lead. And then Josh Bell, who just was acquired, and this is why you do this, hits a tying home run in the top of the 7th. So I'm looking now back. It was Chapman, 103, tailing off the plate, 0-2 pitch, and he goes opposite field. And then you had the Jock Peterson home run yesterday off Colin Holderman, 1-2 pitch, hundo in the 7th. I just think of a time not long ago when we would be like, oh, someone got a hit or a homer off 100 from, you know, one of the 3 guys in the league that can do it. And now you see it multiple times in a series. It's crazy to me, especially that Chapman home run. Did you guys catch that one? The way that was tailing away.
You just do this right here, dude. That's just one of those tip your hat. And I go, man, it's amazing when you see a guy like Josh Bell go actually play some meaningful baseball games, right? All of a sudden, this is a guy who, you know, throughout the season, we're like, I don't know, Josh. This guy's already rejuvenated, man. So it lets you know, man. And I know the Marlins are in it, but there's a difference between being in it and knowing you're in it when you talk about the D-backs. So I love that move. I love giving a good player a jolt of energy, and he's being a spark already for the Diamondbacks. So that is a dangerous team. Watch out for those guys getting healthy.
The Marlins ain't in it. The only thing Marlins are in are nothing. The Marlins are in.
The
Marlins are in a 5-year rebuild. That's what the Marlins are in. The Marlins ain't in no playoff race. Marlins made the playoffs last year, and they couldn't wait to cut money and get rid of everybody. I mean, I'm sorry, but it's just it sucks for the Marlins players. It sucks for the Marlins everybody because they made the playoffs last year, and here they are. So yeah, good for Josh Bell, man. He got out of there.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the players they got rid of. Like at the trade deadline, they're all like, "Man, we're out of there. We can try to go to place and actually win."
Facts.
Yeah,
that's true. All right, and then for the NL wildcard race, you had a disappointing series for the Mets. They fall in 2 out of 3 games to the Angels. There were a couple one-run
season's
losses
over,
in there.
Scott. Season's over.
Disappointing weekend. That's all.
I mean,
you're gonna.
Again, what did I tell you?
Let me ask this: Could this weekend be the weekend where it either ends for the Mets or they set themselves up for a really, really good situation? Because I don't know if you guys have saw their schedule. Their schedule is grueling right now. 1 game in St. Louis, then I think they have to fly to Seattle. I mean, this is a grueling schedule that they're playing. I mean, Anaheim, 1 game in St. Louis, Seattle for 3. I mean, they're going to need some things to go right. Hold
up, though. They got a little cushion in between. It's not the ultimate cushion because the team plays well there, but they have today against the Cardinals for 1. That's always a pain, right? You're going from Anaheim to St. Louis, then you go back. I mean, it's not a crazy flight. You're going a little more west to Denver for 3 games. Always a great way to wake up the offense. Yeah, always good little juice for the offense. Then you go to Seattle. And then they go back home for a while. This is like the big West Coast swing they're on. But then they're back home. They host the A's, the Marlins. Then they've got the Orioles in town. So there's ups and downs there.
You know what that's called? A big league schedule. That's what that's called.
AJ, you know that.
You go on a 10-day road trip. You know what? Remember?
Those West Coast trips kind of suck sometimes, especially when you got to – I know you said not too bad, but going to St. Louis for 1 – I mean, that's just like mentally. Like my point is just mentally, they need to be in a good spot. I'm just being honest. I get it. I know it's big league travel, but to be gone to go Anaheim, St. Louis, Denver to Seattle, brother, that is not that easy. It's not that easy. All I'm saying is this is a really important road trip for them to finish up strong, especially after losing that series in Anaheim. That's all I'm saying.
No, it's a good call. And did you see Ben Joyce? Speaking of velocity. Isn't he the dude that just wants to throw 110? Like he's the one who's
it's funny you say that.
He says screw it, right? Like a lot of guys are like, hey, I'm trying to focus on health and long-term arm care and the whole deal. You're right. It's not all about velo, right? Everyone's trying to say that. And he's like, nah, it is all about velo. I'm trying to go 105. I'm trying to sit 105. He was 104.7 on his last pitch to end the game the other day.
Yeah, it was crazy. I was literally watching that last out going. And the first thing I thought is, are we gonna get a guy that's gonna throw 110 one day? Are we getting there? Like when you watch Ben Joyce throw, like there's gonna be a guy who's like you said, Scotty, who's gonna just go, all I'm trying to do is throw 110. That's it. I mean, that was impressive, man. You don't see stuff like that every day, man. I saw 105 from Chapman one time, and that was about the hardest I've seen. But that is different, man. Righty on righty. I wouldn't want to see that.
I think he was talking, AJ, about the velo when Ohapi came to greet him. I mean, we talk to Ohapi pretty frequently on this show, so we'll ask him. But I think he was like, "Yo, what was that at?"
I don't think. I mean, listen, I don't know if we'll ever see a guy at 110 because I don't know the human body can handle it. But it is cool to see 105. I mean, what's changed though is you see, everybody's throwing 100, 98, 99. Almost every reliever now is. Listen, I'm in a high school thing right now. And dude, there was a kid last night, 96 to 98 in high school. This kid's in high school. I mean, every guy is sitting 91 to 95, like high school, righties, lefties. I mean, everybody. So the velo, the easiest thing to find in baseball, because the velo has gone up, is a guy that throws hard. Now, you give me a guy that can throw hard and locate it, then you got something special. But just velo, I mean, it's cool and all. Like, listen, but Ben Joyce, can he throw it over the plate and can he be a closer? Because if he can throw it over the plate and be a closer, the Angels have something.
They also had a nice find in Kevin Pillar, who is not cutting it with the White Sox, moves to a better team. He's played really well, made a sick catch this weekend. I also just want to point out curiosity on what happens at a trade deadline. I mean, you would think that the Angels would have dealt him. Obviously, he's not just a free agent after the year. He's probably done after this season. So I wonder if there were any conversations behind the scenes or if he just wants to ride it out. He's getting playing time. He's got a good spot there. AJ, for me, it was a little confusing. I'm like, there's not one team that can use him as even a fifth outfielder the way he's swinging the bat right now too. I mean, I know he's cooled off a bit, but there wasn't somebody. It's not like they can say, because I heard Perry Minasian the other day. He was like, he essentially said we didn't get the offers that we thought we would get for Rengifo and Anderson. So we're going to go into the offseason with them, and then they'll either trade them or they'll try him again the next season. He pointed to how the offers for Carlos Estevez last year were crappy. They waited. They got better offers this year, even though it was one less year of control. Okay, fine. What about Pilar, though? Nobody wants him?
Somebody has to want him. My better question is, how did this dude not play with the White Sox? They wouldn't put him in the lineup. I mean, he's going off. He made that catch he made the other night was sick. This is a dude probably retiring. He's giving it up like that for a team that's out of the playoffs. And he deserved better. He deserved to go to a team with a chance to go to the postseason. I mean, he's pretty much come out and said this is his last year. So, gosh, it'd be nice to see him on a team competing for the postseason and going after it and playing the way he does and being that veteran presence that we've already talked about on this show. Like, go into a clubhouse and teach some of these young guys. He's been to the postseason before. Hey, guys, this is what it's about, man, the postseason, getting there and then competing your tail off in the postseason.
Yeah, I think he's a great piece to have. I'm hoping he's in a situation similar to myself in 2017, where I actually was injured through the trade deadline, but actually ended up being put on waivers and it required me. So maybe there's still an opportunity for Kevin Pilar to still possibly end up with a team in contention, a team that's playing meaningful games, because that dude. You talk about a guy in his last year, and like AJ said, he deserves to, with his competitive nature, his warrior spirit, he deserves to be on a team that is competing for something. And right now, like you said, that's a guy who's talking about retiring. He could a year or two if he wanted to, as one of those veteran leadership guys, and he still has some good baseball in him. So I'm still eager to see if something happens moving down the stretch, because there still is a world where Kevin Pilar could end up playing some meaningful baseball games, and I hope that's what happens.
That's true. The Angels are the creators of the dump deadline, which means you have 1 month to get rid of players. But in all seriousness, I think that, they would have a heart and say to Kevin, hey, do you want us to cut you loose if a team wants you? Because also keep in mind, you can't make trades anymore. So if a team loses an outfielder, maybe this could be the reinforcement that they need on August, 15th or something like that, where they say, okay, we're going to cut you loose so you can play with a contender here to ride out the rest of your career. So I like that. Kiermaier's kind of doing that too, right? Kiermaier's on his last hurrah, and he gets to go play with the Dodgers and try to win a World Series, coming from a Blue Jays team that's going nowhere but, to play golf in October. Okay, lastly, the Oakland A's are continuing their divorce with the city. So the latest news is the team is going to sell its ownership stake in the Coliseum to a private development group, according to the buyer, completing the transfer of the sports and entertainment complex to the private sector. I will say this, AJ, my dad likes to go to every event and ballpark and all of that. So him and my mom were there yesterday at the game, and he said it was packed, and he said it was awesome. He's like, I know the field is not very modern, but he's like, damn, it's a shame. He's like, this place was packed. Obviously, it's a lot of Dodger fans and just Ohtani fans. But anyway, at least they're going to separate. You're not going to have the John Fisher and the ownership group holding that area hostage. I'm sure they came up with, some type of deal behind the scenes so that they're completely separated from the city. This one was obvious.
No, they also made $40 million. So let's not forget the A's made $40 million. Yeah,
they're going to spend it all on players, though, so it's fine.
Of course. I mean, listen. Here's the thing. Like, good. Like, A's fans are like good riddance at this point, right? Because in the city of Oakland is kind of like good riddance. The mayor's come out and done all this stuff, and yeah, your dad was there. I mean, you know what happened? Everyone's like, man, we can go get a cheap ticket in Oakland and watch Shohei play, and we can have a nice seat on a beautiful day in Oakland and watch him for a weekend. I mean, everyone from LA could have jumped. There's a Southwest flight. I guarantee you that'll bounce you up there in about an hour and a half, and you can fly right into Oakland, or you can fly into San Francisco and drive right over. So, yeah, I mean, it's a great idea, but gosh, I mean, it's almost like we keep talking about this, and it's like they're not in Oakland anymore. Like, good riddance, A's. And as nice of a job as Mark Kotsay and some of the players are doing, Brett Rooker, but I mean, good riddance, Oakland. A's, not Oakland, but the A's in Oakland.
Yeah, I agree. I can't. AJ said it. It's just a shame. It's sad. It's been a lot of shady stuff all season long going on with the organization, with the stadium, with moving. So I'm with AJ. I think it's time. The way they've treated this situation, it's time to see it change.
By the
Also,
way,
yeah.
by the way, Scott, we still haven't seen a rendering, like an official rendering of the ballpark in Las Vegas.
Yep.
There has not been a shovel that's been like in the ground, and there's like the guy throwing the fake dirt over his shoulder, right? There's been none of that. Tampa Bay is going to beat them to the punch, right? With their new stadium, like we've seen renderings, we've seen votes, we've seen this, we've seen that, we've seen all these people excited, like let's go Rays. And Oakland's still like, yeah, we're in Sacramento, and we hope to have a stadium done sometime in the 21st century.
You're right. Like they walk down a street and they just skip and they fall, they trip and they get up and they fall again. I mean, it's so embarrassing. Steven Nelson who's on the Dodgers broadcast quite often, obviously, is one of their play-by-play guys. He's really good. He was like on the money with, you should just look it up, with his, kind of 2-minute rant on what's gone on there and how much it's been embarrassingly botched, and how it's been embarrassing for really all of California baseball. Obviously, I'll stretch it to all of baseball or sport in general. So he nailed it. Definitely look it up, listen to it, or read it. Awful Announcing put out an article about it too. He was so good. He pointed out just like all of the little things. I mean, obviously, it's a broadcast. He only had a minute or two. He gave like 4 or 5 examples of how much it's been botched. So anyway, we'll step aside. We're waiting for Blake Snell. We'll talk about what he did too. We haven't gotten to that. So we'll show off Blake Snell's no, silencing the haters. All right, here we go. We're back. I'll rip through a few more questions here. Ref, who's always great with the super chat. Do you think Tim Anderson will be back in the big leagues next season? I actually think that's a great question. I don't necessarily know what he's up to, if he's going to try and rework things. But, I mean, Cam, AJ, and myself and some others have talked about this a lot. It was like a very quick downfall from being an all-star caliber player, 300-plus hitter, to not being good enough to be in the league. So I'm not sure. He's still young enough to come back.
Yeah, I was a guy who did a lot of defending Tim Anderson, still believing that he needed just a change of scenery, needed to go somewhere. I was a big advocate for the Dodgers, and it's easy to say that because I just think they do a really good job of fixing players, right? Chris Taylor, Jason Hayward, Max Muncy. You can go down the list, Kike, guys that they've got the best out of when you were wondering where they're on the cusp. I don't think the Marlins was a great situation. I think it was the best situation for him at the time, not the greatest situation. But, man, after watching what I saw, I don't know. I'm not going to say he's done because we've seen a lot of guys go and figure it out. Matt Carpenter not too long ago was able to figure some things out, had a resurgence with the Yankees and the Padres. But it's going to take some hard work going back to the drawing board, figuring out where the breakdown has come. But we're talking about a guy who just 3 years ago was essentially the face of the Chicago White Sox, hitting a home run to walk off the Yankees at the Field of Dreams. I mean, doing things that we hadn't seen in the contention for batting titles. So to see this downfall is crazy. It is unexpected. But if he does get an opportunity, it will definitely be on a minor league deal, and he's going to have to prove it. He's going to have to go the long way on this second.
Yeah, no doubt. Definitely minor league contract at this point. A team would sign him up to a minor league
sign
deal.
him. So listen, aren't we all rooting for Tim Anderson? I mean, how much fun was he to watch when he was going good?
Exactly.
Right? I think everybody's rooting for Tim Anderson, the player. I mean, I think that, there's nobody that's like, man, I hope Tim Anderson struggles, but it's odd that we're talking about Tim Anderson on a big anniversary for Tim Anderson.
Yeah, that's true. That changed a lot of things. The punch.
It is the 1 year anniversary. There's someone that's been through it. Embrace it, dude. Don't hide from it, because when you hide from it, it's worse. Just embrace it.
He hasn't embraced it. He was one of the more vocal players in the sport. He was a great interview. He was pretty, straightforward. You barely have heard from him since. I know there's a level to that where you're not playing well. You don't want to speak as much. I can tell you this. We've talked to some players who don't want to talk when they're struggling, but I'd love to hear from him. Hey, we're back on FT. Before we talk to Blake Snell, who is apparently on his way, let's go over what he did. Put together a no-no. And I loved the quote, too. I mean, he's like, silencing the haters. It's on his mind for people that say, hey, he's not pitching deep enough into games. He's like, oh, I pitched deep enough. I gave you the complete game. I gave you the shutout, gave you the no. Here's the clip first, and then we'll go over it.
You had been no hit through 7 a couple times in your career. Why was there the motivation to keep going tonight?
I'm going to be honest, that's more on Bo now and JP there pushing that. But, yeah, I don't know. Low pitch count compared to where I was at when I had like a no-hit against Arizona. I had plenty, but too many pitches. So to where this one was attacked early for the first 4, and then the 5th kind of a little shaky, and then got back into attacking and getting quick outs. So, yeah.
How would you describe how you were feeling? I mean, it's the first time you've pitched into the 9th inning, and it's a no-hitter.
They can't say it anymore, Complete game, shutout, no-hitter, leave me alone. He doesn't go to the 9th, doesn't go to the 8th. You know how good that feels? Just did it, leave me alone.
Unbelievable quote at the end. Leave me alone. I done it.
Leave me alone.
A complete game, 9th inning. Checked all the boxes with one game. And the best part was they let him go 114, Cam. I mean, that's like unheard of.
Love it.
Oh, my gosh. He threw 114. Man, they're going to have to shut him down for like 3 weeks now. Are you kidding me?
Exactly.
This is a veteran dude that knows what he's doing. And I was happy for Blake Snell because you know what? I mean, listen, everyone that remembers the World Series where the Rays in Game 6 took him out, and they lost that game. They lost the World Series. So let the boy pitch, man. Let the guy pitch. This guy can cook. And when he's got it going, let the guy ride. I don't care about first time, second time through, third time through. You think Clayton Kershaw lefty like Blake Snell? They're like, oh, no, third time through. Clayton Kershaw can't pitch. Blake Snell could do it if you let him. The Rays just never let him. He got that reputation. So when his pitch count's low, let the boy cook.
You couldn't have said it better, man. And I got into a good back and forth with some guys at MLB Network, Scotty Braun, on this. I feel like Blake Snell might be the most disrespected 2-time Cy Young Award winner that is in our game. When you were going back through his free agency, it was all about, is he worth this? Is he worth that? The high pitch count, the walk total. The dude has 2 Cy Youngs in 2 different leagues, yo. Respect the guy. Like he said, I'm tired of hearing it. Leave me alone. And I love the quote. This is one guy I always say, I wish I would have had a chance to play with Blake Snell. Me and Blake Snell would have been great friends. But this dude is nasty, and I said it. I still don't think he's reached his ceiling. I think this guy still has a lot of good baseball in him. And before he's done, he's going to be in another Cy Young race before it's all said and done. So I'm happy for Blake Snell. And I'm happy for those guys, like AJ said, let him go. This guy has a long track record of having a lot of success. And give him the ball, let him do what he does. I love it.
Let me ask you all this before Blake comes on. Is he a Hall of Famer? He's got 2 Cy Youngs. He's got a no-hitter now. I mean, he's led teams deep in the postseason before.
Exactly.
I mean, I know his career numbers aren't going to be that, but 2 Cy Youngs plus a no-hitter, I mean, that's getting pretty damn close to a Hall of Fame career for most people, right?
Yes, no doubt. We've talked about this in the offseason, and it's worth bringing up again. Obviously, he's going to join us soon, but, I mean, he's got the resume builder situation going right now. Keep in mind, he's 31 years old. This is a big dude, good build, can pitch for quite some time still, right? I'm sure we can ask him, but I'm sure he's probably not even in the number mode yet. He's probably going to go, 6, 7, 8 years, whatever, right? He can still go.
If we can get him off Twitch. We can get him off Twitch and playing video games. He might play for another 10 years.
Yeah, he might be envisioning though he might be able to play on say an out of the park and simulate himself through age 38, 39, be like, damn, I can still kick it. All right, I'm going to go to that point, So I agree. I mean, he is on a great track. He's pitching like a 1 for the Giants. Giants didn't do much at the trade deadline, but they're going to try and see if they can ride their starting pitchers right now. So, all right, we'll step aside. We'll get to Blake Snell as soon as we come back on FT. If you're watching on Valley Sports, what's up? And if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. We'll answer some questions during the break. Be right back.
There was a report by Ken Rosenthal that he was available last year. Obviously, hindsight, glad he's still around. He's having a decent year for Salvi. But How did that go down from not just the teams that were asking about him, but how you discuss that with Salvi, somebody who has been signed to 3 different extensions, somebody who has a World Series MVP and is entrenched in this organization?
Yeah, fortunately, Salvi was the one that initiated the conversation. He asked to meet with me and Renee Francisco, our senior VP of Major League and International Operations. He asked to meet with us, and he just point blank asked us, what are the chances? How can we win next year? What are the chances we can win? And we were very honest with him that a lot of things were going to have to go right. We told him we were going to work to add to this club. And at that point, what was obvious to us is Salvi wanted to win, and he knows where he is in his career, so he became more open-minded to potentially being traded. And I think it was just the relationship that he's had with so many people in this organization over many years that you can have that type of conversation. We are very, very, very happy that he's here. And, it's the old Branch Rickey saying, some of the best trades you make are the ones that you didn't. That nothing ever really came like so close that Salvi was almost with another club, but it was something we were discussing with a couple teams at the time. And, it was obviously with Salvi's blessing, he had the right to be traded or not. But there was also an understanding that, we're going to, if this doesn't happen, we're going to go out and do anything and everything we can to help our team so you can go out on top and be a part of another winner.
Blake Snell joining us right now on FT, coming off the no-no. We just talked about it. Blake, great to have you on here for the first time, man. You got Cam Maybin and AJ Pierzynski. Yeah, props. We just went over the post-game sound, too. How good did that feel on so many levels to put that together the other day?
Well, thanks for having me. Appreciate that. And, no, it felt good. I mean, I haven't thought about it much. I never really do. So, it feels good. It's pretty cool to do that. But I'm such a forward thinker. Like, what's next? What do I got to do now? And how do I get ready for the next one? But it was very cool.
Blake, first of all, let me just say this. Awesome quotes. I love what you said. Like, screw all y'all haters. I can't go 9 innings. They never let me. Here you go. Boom. There's a no-hitter for all y'all, right? That was awesome. I was like, I wanted to run through the TV and be like, high five for Blake Snell. But I got to ask, man, you guys are in Washington. Did Rosie put you in a closet somewhere? Like, what's he got you doing there?
This the family room.
Oh,
maybe,
okay.
It's pretty stale in here, but dirty, you put it in the closet.
I see that. You got to go tell him you want some fried chicken. I'm sure he brought in some fried chicken for y'all. His first day in.
Good food here. Good. Yeah,
facts. DC.
Sneaky.
Hey, Blake. It's Cam Maybin here. First off, man, I'm glad I don't have to face you anymore. I used to love facing lefties. I went to Baseball Reference. 8 at-bats. No average, AJ. No average.
0 for what? 0 for what?
0 for 6. Only 2 punches, though. Only 2 punches. But, one thing I want to ask you, talk about you're a forward thinker. And I'm just sitting here watching it last night. I'm having flashbacks, not good ones at all. And I'm like, have you finally figured out, like, I can't cuss anymore on Bally's, but your stuff is nasty? And I say that because, I did a lot of defending you about Blake Snell, high pitch count, this and that. And I'm like, listen, y'all disrespecting a 2-time Cy Young Award winner in 2 leagues. I still think your best baseball is ahead of you. But the last 4 starts, bro, I've seen you like attack with the fastball, attack in the zone more than I've ever seen you do. And I'm going forward thinking, have you finally realized, like, Doug, I'm nasty. Like, I can just go right at guys and I can get quicker outs because that's what I've seen the last 4 or 5 starts, and it's been nasty to see.
Yeah, well, appreciate that. That means a lot. I would say, I've been way more aggressive in just getting strike one, strike two with whatever pitch. But yeah, I think I was so focused on like being so perfect, and I was like, I know I can spot corners, and I was trying to do that so much and so frequently that it was only getting me in bad counts, and it was favoring hitters, and I was always having to battle my way back. That this year I just said like I need to get ahead, stay ahead, and just put batters away as quickly as possible. I don't know. I've said that so many times to myself. It's never registered like it is now. I don't know what that is, but yeah, I know a lot lately. I don't care. I'm gonna throw it over the plate. I need to get strike one. I need to get strike two, and that'll help me get deeper into the ball game.
All right, Blake, I got to ask. You said you're a forward thinker, and the Olympics are going on right now. And Simone Biles, she's pretty good at gymnastics, right? She wins the gold medal again in the all around, and then she tweets out, "Don't ask me about what's next." But you said you throw a no hitter, the achievement of a lifetime, and you're already thinking about the next one. So which one is it? We don't ask you what's next, or we be Blake Snell and be like, "Damn, I'm already moving on to the next one."
Yeah, I mean, what's next is I got to get ready to have a good outing against Washington. That's all I can really think of. Yeah, I don't know. What did I like about that start? What didn't I like about it? I got 5 days to figure it out, put a plan together, attack the plan, see if I like how I attacked it, and then on to the next one.
Blake, are you calling your own pitches?
Me and Pat, we go over it. Like we have a pretty good game plan. Before I get out there, we already know kind of what we're gonna do to the first 3 hitters that we're gonna face that inning. Kind of go over it, and then it's been pretty easy. I've been doing this now for 2 years with my catchers, and you get on a rhythm, you get a pace going really quickly. Hitters, they can't get comfortable because I'm throwing the ball, throwing the ball, and I've noticed a lot more this year that hitters are just in the last 5 games, hitters are calling time a lot quicker and a lot more often.
Hey, I got a question for you, Blake, on the team. A lot of people in the media, they'll question about moves being made. That's nothing that you guys can control, right? That's out of your control. But one thing that I notice is when I look at this team, I'm looking at guys getting healthy. I'm looking at Hicks. I'm looking at Robbie Ray. I'm looking at Webb. I'm looking at yourself. Do you guys feel, and the more than capable bullpen, might I add, do you guys feel like you guys have everything that it takes to make a little run? Because now the offense is starting to get going, starting to get some hitting going. Fitzgerald has been a nice spark. What's the atmosphere? What's the vibe in the clubhouse as far as you guys believing that what you have is more than enough?
Yeah, I think, we know we got good pitching. We're really confident on that. I think we can do it. I think the team believes that too. I think we're starting to bond a lot as a team, and that's kind of what's been pushing a lot of these wins, I feel. I mean, I think the scariest teams aren't usually the best teams, talent-wise. It's the teams that have the best chemistry. I think we're going in that direction. So I really think we can make a run and a push, and we can play some of our best baseball here coming up.
Blake, were you worried you were going to get traded? Because your name was out there. Like, did the Giants ever come to you and say, "Hey, man, this can happen"?
No, they never said nothing.
That's good. Then that means they didn't want to trade you.
Yeah, they didn't say nothing, and I didn't really I didn't care if I got traded. I got traded. I was happy where I'm at, so I never really looked forward to like what could be. It's always like, this is where I'm at. I'm gonna stay grounded right here. But I'm happy. Getting traded is not a fun thing. It's too much. You gotta move out of where you're at. You gotta find a new place to live. You gotta figure out what your family's gonna do. It's too much. So from that side, I'm happy.
Okay. All right. So does that mean you're going to decline to become a free agent at the end of the year if you're so happy?
Why you gotta ask tough questions?
You can just say, I don't know.
One start at a time, man. One start.
You seen the last 5 starts, AJ? If he goes out and continues a pitch like this, we might have a different conversation we need to be having, bro.
Hey, Cam, he won the Cy Young last year. I don't know if you know that or not. And he went to the offseason and didn't sign until like the end of spring training. So I got to ask him, like, what was that like? What was it like? Was it harder than you thought? Because I know you're a Boris guy and you're in Camp Boris and, you're throwing to hitters and you're doing this and doing that. But it's not a big league mound with big league guys. Like, was it harder than you thought to not go to spring training?
Well, I knew it was going to be hard. When spring training started up, I was kind of shocked. I was like, how was the team not come after me to get me on the team for something that I thought was fair for my worth? And then going through it, it's like towards the end of spring, I'm like, man, this is crazy. Like, it just blew my mind. I was like, I'm still out here, a free agent. You got big league teams that I know could use a pitcher like myself, and I'm still out here. And the offers, I mean, that was crazy. I just no offers, like nothing good, nothing even worth talking about. And then when the Giants came after me, I was pretty pumped. And then I started getting into it. We started spring, and I was like, man, I thought I was in like good shape, ready to go. And then I throw my first bullpen out there. I'm like, yep, it feel like the first day of spring. Like, I felt bad. I was like, I threw 4 innings against hitters, probably like 4 or 5 days before I signed, and I was like, oh, the ball's coming out nice. Like, I feel good. Curveball, everything looks good. I get to camp. I throw my first bullpen. And I haven't been sore. Like, I was never sore. But then when you get to camp, it's like a whole different intensity. And in the first bullpen, I throw a pretty long bullpen with good intensity, and I'm sore. And I'm like, oh, wow, I ain't felt this. And then just getting going as quickly as I did, getting right into the season, facing big league hitters for the first time in a real game in the big leagues. I was like, man, I remember going out there, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do it today, but we got to find a way. And no, it was way tougher than I thought. And I thought coming into it, like, yeah, I've worked out, I've ran, I've done all my conditioning, like I'm ready to go. And it was very difficult.
Can I ask you about a specific team because you're from the Seattle area? Were you surprised that they didn't give you a call? I mean, we are on every day in the offseason, so some Seattle fans kept hitting us up like, we're getting Snell. I'm like, I don't think you will, not because they don't like him. I just don't think they're playing like that. They've kind of kept their payroll in the same range. But, I know you're from there, and maybe you'd want to play there eventually, I figure.
Yeah, no, I thought they'd at least call, but nothing. Yeah. And I wasn't shocked for that because just their track record. But, yeah, I mean, I was curious on it for sure.
Hey, let me ask you this because you seem like a real one. That's what I like about you the most. Because I felt like this. Everything you're saying is crazy to me. The fact that you didn't have these calls, that nobody's reaching out. Is collusion real, my brother?
I mean, it probably could be. I don't know. I think, like, now that I've gone through it, I just think teams, like, they didn't really do a good job trying to get to know me. I think the image on me is, like, he's a video gamer. Like, he doesn't, like, there's just the image on me versus what I am as a player and a pitcher is two different things. Because, like, I work hard. I do all the right things. And, like, when it comes to baseball, like, I'm obsessed with it. So I just think the image of me was wrong. And then when teams weren't coming after me, maybe they just weren't spending money this year. Like, I don't know what their reasoning was, but maybe it is, maybe it's not. I don't know.
All right, well, let me ask you this, bro. I'm nasty on MLB The Show. I'm like 148 and like 101. Can you help me get my Twitch followers up or something, dog? Help a brother. Hey, my bad. I know we talking baseball, but I just got a Twitch account, bro. I'm nasty. Help me out.
Hey, you have Twitch? I'm gonna check it out.
I just started an account, man. I play a lot of MLB The Show, man. I need your help. All right.
Yeah, I'll check it out. We gotta get you playing with like some of the big streamers. Then your following go.
All right.
I'll be following.
Say less. I'm locked in. Say less.
All right.
All right. I mean, well, now you two are talking video games. I'm too old for video games. My kid plays video games now. He plays MLB The Show, and now he's on to college football because the new college football game came out. But I got to ask this while we're on it. You guys play with yourselves? I mean, as yourselves, I mean? Sorry, excuse me.
Wait, what was that?
Pause.
We get the 99 cards of ourselves, but I never use it.
Why not?
Blake Snell's on my pitching staff in my Diamond Dynasty, bro. That's all I'm gonna tell you. I got the 99. He's on my staff, so.
Yeah. Well, I added a sinker to my guy on 99 on MLB The Show, and it's a lot harder to hit now because if you play the game, you know sinkers and cutters and changeups. That's all you want. The curveball gets whacked, fastballs. It don't matter what kind of ride you have, they get whacked. So you need sinker, cutter, change.
You just put me on. My winning percentage is about to go up even more. I'm locked in.
Dang. All right. All right. Again, I don't know what y'all are talking about, but I got to ask, since we were talking about collusion and you're talking about the wrong, misconception about you, Blake, because I've always talked to you and I've always loved talking ball with you. The times when we've had playoff games with you and get to sit down with you, it's been awesome. So, you're obsessed with baseball. I got to ask this, though. Was the Yankees thing real? Because that was like the big thing. Remember this offseason, everyone was like, man, Blake Snell got offered. Well, I don't even know what it was. And he don't want to go to the Yankees. And I'm like, I'm sure he'd go to the Yankees. And it sounds like from you talking, you'd fit in great because you love baseball.
Yeah, the deal that came out, that wasn't what was offered to me. I could say that. But even, what they offered wasn't close to that. So I can say that.
That's fair. But see, that's what happens. Like everyone, we were talking about this earlier, right? When people go through ups and downs in the season with social media and stuff. So all it took was one guy to say, "Oh, they offered Blake Snell 1 year, $500 million, and he doesn't want to go to the Yankees," right? And you're like, man, you call Scott Boras, you're like, Scott, they offered me 1 year, $500 million. Man, why didn't I get that offer? I'll take that and go to New York right now, right? So I don't know. I just think it's funny how things can get blown out of proportion and how one person says something and then it ruins you. It can affect you for the rest of your career.
Yeah, the New York fans, they were showing love. I was shocked. They were blowing up my Instagram. I was like,
they like winners, man.
Yeah,
they like winners. Look, I got one more for you, Blake, and it's on the staff. You've been on some good staffs. Who has impressed you on that Giant staff this year that you may not been aware of? Like, hey, this guy, he's a dude. I know you got Hicks. I know you got Webb. Any of those guys that really like impressed you and stood out? Like, this dude has a chance to be nasty for a long time.
Those guys, like, we know of. I think Harrison and Birdsong, I think both the rookies, like, they got a shot. It depends how they develop the next couple years. More so, like, got to figure out their mindsets. But I think both of them have shots to be really good. It just depends, what's pushing them to be good and if they continue to do that. As well as me, rookies get up here and like they get comfortable, they get excited, and they're like, oh, I'm going to do this now for 15 years. Like, it doesn't happen that way. So whatever they do in the next 2-3 years will kind of decide if they're going to be special or not. But from stuff-wise, they got that. So hopefully they can find ways to continue to get better and stronger and turn into a really good pitcher at this level. But I would say those two guys.
Hey, Blake, last one from me. I don't know if you saw, Garrett Crochet's situation at all. Obviously, he's been dealing this year, but he hasn't pitched much in the past. And so there were trade rumors around him, and it was a tricky situation because he's probably – What advice would you you lost me. AJ, you can pick it up.
He just wants to know what advice you give Crochet because, they were like, yeah, we could trade you. You could go from the worst team possibly in history to a team going to the playoffs. I don't know about you, but I want to play on a good team.
Yeah. I don't know, like, how much he loves Chicago and how much his family likes it there. That's probably a reason why he'd want to stay. But I don't know. I think my advice is, what are you chasing? Like, are you chasing to be, like, the best baseball player, or you just like where you're at and you're one of the better guys on that team? Like, what are you chasing? What's your reasoning? Once you figure that out, then figure out what's your best fit and try to go there.
Agreed. That was good advice for everybody, though. Figure out what you're good at and figure out what you love and go do that, right? But I got to ask, before we let you go, real quick, give me the path to the Giants making the postseason this year. And then if y'all get in, I mean, I don't want to face Snell, Ray, Logan Webb. I don't want to face that rotation and that bullpen.
Yeah. We got a lot of home games. I think this stretch we got coming up this month is really what's going to decide it for us. I mean, we got San Diego twice in September, then Baltimore, Kansas City. So we got some good teams that we're going to play, but I think this month we got to win at home. We've been doing that. I think it's really come together for us, but yeah, I think the next 20 games is really going to decide if we're going to push over this 500 mark or we're going to just keep staying here and flirting with it. So for us, the next 20 games, I think, is a big decider on what we're going to be.
I love it. Well, Blake, thank you very much. Congratulations. Scott had to go get on Twitch to watch y'all play against each other on MLB The Show, but we appreciate it. Cam, two-time Cy Young Award winner.
Two-time, dog.
Two-time Cy Young. And silenced all the haters with the no-hitter and the complete game. So, Blake, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Slap Rosie for Cam and I. Tell him hello. And thanks for joining us. We're going to hit a break real quick here.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Mike Trout's done for the season. So I'm going to try and take a positive spin off this. The knee didn't recover from the torn meniscus. He's got to do the surgery again. That is brutal. Okay. I don't know the depths of how that all goes, but that sucks. They did the MRI first when he was feeling weird after he came back for an at-bat, and it came back clean. But then obviously they checked again and it's no good. Here, I'll give you the glass half full. They don't need him this year. They're going to suck either way. I'm just trying to look at something positive. Our game needs him because he's awesome, but get well, and I'm going to cross my fingers that we get a more complete Trout for next year. Here, one other positive. The injuries aren't chronic. Look it up. It's different almost every time. It's back, it's wrist, it's calf, it's knee. Hamate. So with some guys, it's like, oh, he can't get over this back issue, right? He can't get over this knee issue. That's worse on average.
Cam, you tell me. Meniscus running around in the outfield. I know about meniscus squatting down. I get to sit the whole game. You have to stand on your feet.
I actually strained my meniscus in 2017. Didn't end up tearing it. Had a weird slide going to second base. Shortstop deked me, so I got down late. And I remember hearing a pop, and it was the scariest thing ever. And I probably missed about 3 or 4 weeks with no tear. And for a guy whose game was predicated around speed and running and defense and athleticism, again, I was no Mike Trout, but very similar to his game. Man, that's a tough injury to come back from. And I think if we've watched Mike Trout, he's a guy who I think we can all say is really hurt him, hurt his spirit to see him hurt. I think he knows how much he needs to be on the field. His team needs to be on the field. The game needs him on the field. And you can just see, how distraught he is every time these things happen. And playing with Mike Trout, this guy loves to play the game. So, this is a tough injury for a guy like that. A lot of torque. This is not a little guy. I mean, this guy is 220-plus pounds. I tell everybody all the time he's the white version of Bo Jackson. That's what Bo Jackson would look like if he played the game. So when you talk about a guy having to, move like that, having to create so much force, it's just it's tough.
BetMGM locks time. All right, let's do this before someone else steals my Wi-Fi. All right, so first off, we're coming off a tough Friday. We've been in a little bit of a second half swoon, so let's try and pick things up here. Yeah, that's not what you like to see on the board. So, AJ, you want to lead the way here?
Listen, I'm up 583, baby. And even when I lose, I win because I pushed on Thursday and I still won $50. So let's go, Cam. Yeah, I'm taking KC money line and I'm taking San Francisco money line because Logan Webb has been dealing and he's pitching tonight. And we just had Blake Snell on, and everyone knows I love the Giants and the Giants love me. So that parlay gets me to plus 179 and with light action. So Cam, what do you got?
I haven't had anything, AJ. I'm broke right now. And it's time to win some money because I have been good and broke. I'm going to go with the same game parlay. And you just said it earlier, nobody wants to lose against the White Sox. So I'm going with the Athletics at home over the run total of 8.5. And I'm putting 200 down. I got to get back somewhere close to even or just somewhere in the green. So this is where I start right here.
All right, you guys got me?
Sadly.
Locked in.
Yes? Nice. Okay, cool. Diamondbacks money line minus 125 to win a hundo. I got Gallen versus Logan Webb. I got an improved Diamondbacks bullpen. I know Seawald's been through it a little bit, but Puck's looking good. And I mean, I think there's a pretty lopsided pitching matchup there. So I think Diamondbacks have a hotter offense. We'll see how that goes. Hey, play the swing for the fences game. It's free to play if you're a BetMGM sportsbook account holder, and you can get things like parlay boost tokens, odds boost tokens. You get a single, double, triple homer, fly out. You play once a day, and all rewards expire in 24 hours. Gambling problem or concern, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And that's it for us. We'll slap when we do the bonus time on YouTube. So anyone that was watching on Valley Sports, hope you enjoyed it today. Blake Snell was freaking awesome. We have a great guest list as always coming up this week. We got Tarek Skubal. We're going to get to talk to Skubal about the Cy Young race. And was he hearing any rumblings, or was that all BS? We'll see.
I won't be on tomorrow. Ask Scooble about what I did to him on my rehab start.
I will.
Uh-oh.
All right, we got a few minutes here for Slap, so I'll kind of just run through an IL list because there were quite a few. We're not going to, have time to go spot by spot. We're not doing injury suck today, but just a few notes because there's big ones. Reynaldo Lopez, right forearm inflammation, so Bryce Elder is called up. We kind of had a feeling this was a high-risk player just based off the fact that he hadn't been starting for a bit, and now he's thrown back in there. He's been so good, but, he hadn't thrown a bullpen since his last start 8 days ago. You're going to let him, sit it for a little bit. Max Scherzer is having some issues as well, right shoulder fatigue, so he hits the shelf. I mean, there's a lot of mileage on that arm. He's had trouble kind of staying on the field. And then Lance McCullers is done for the rest of the season. I mean, he never made it back. He hasn't pitched since 2022, so it's been a huge problem for him. He just can't get the arm back on track. He never was on a rehab assignment, so he was far away. The good news, though, for the Astros, sure, they overpaid, whatever you want to say. Kikuchi looked real damn good. He struck out 8 in a row at one point. He had 11 punch-outs. That's why they paid a high price for him. A lot of teams wanted him. He was, front office darling numbers-wise, but there he is. So, Cam, any comments on the injuries here?
Yeah, you know what? Unfortunately, I know Lance McCullers, sometimes there's nothing you can do with injuries like that, but a little lesson to some of these guys. This is why this is why you aren't greedy. You take what they give you sometimes. Lance McCullers set himself up very nicely, signed a very lucrative deal, hasn't been able to throw. So, hey, sometimes this is why you sign those deals, because at the end of the day, his family will be set up for life. So I wish him well, and I wish he was healthy, but sometimes it's just the unfortunate part of our game.
Yeah.
AJ?
Is Scherzer done? That's my next question.
Father Time is undefeated.
It gets everybody, trust me. And Scherzer's pushing that 4-0. I made it to 40, and I was like, yep, I'm out. Scherzer's pushing it right there, right? So, I mean, another injury, something different, but it's been a lot of fatigue. It's been a lot of, I don't feel good. It's been like, remember he had like cramps in his fingers, and there's a lot of miles on that arm, and he could retire right now if family's set up. And you know what? He's going on the first ballot to the Hall of Fame. So
absolutely.
Hopefully we get to see Max pitch again, but man, it sucks when these guys start going down. And the Braves, they need Ronaldo Lopez, but anytime you hear flexor tendon, that's scary.
Yeah, Max has done it all. So he's a free agent after this year too. He's not under contract for anyone. I mean, he might call it. Might make some FT appearances. I don't know. But anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Dodgers territory coming up right now with Alana Rizzo. Also, make sure you catch Alana and Britt Giroli later on podcasts or watch on YouTube. They hosted Fair Territory while Ken is away in a remote location. Enjoy DT. Just stay here. We'll flip to the channel for you, and we'll see you on Tuesday. Cam, we'll see you Wednesday.
Yes, sir.